Welcome back, everyone, to another exciting edition of Primetime News. We have a lot of stuff to go over today, a bunch of eBay updates. We have our Primetime Crime series and much more. But we have got to start things off with our lead story. It has me so fired up. I can't wait to get into it, and I can't wait to hear your comments. So here we go. As you can see here, Calgary thrift store limiting the number of items that resellers can buy. How many items can resellers buy before they're banned from buying any more in this store? 2. That's it. After that, no more items for you. Now, theoretically, if you're a regular customer who doesn't admit that they resell, is not known to resell, you could go in and buy thousands of items. But if you're a reseller, nope, no more than 2. Now, there's going to be some diversity of opinion on this. That's fine. That's why we have a comment section. But my position on this is that I would never shop in this store or any other store that had any kind of policy that put a limit on how many items that I could buy because of what I plan to do with it afterwards. In my opinion, that is none of your business what I am going to do with it afterwards. You have a price on it. You price it a certain amount. I go in and buy it. Then when I leave your business, I could do what I want with it. I could take it and I could smash it on the ground. I could turn it into some other type of item entirely. I could go recycle it. I could gift it to somebody else. It's my choice. It's my item at that point. So let's go into why she put this particular policy in place. And when you read it, it's to me, it's just maddening in terms of how I feel she's trying to have it both ways. She's trying to criticize resellers on one hand, and then she's trying to talk nicely about resellers on the other hand. And after all of that, her position still is she's going to put in this ban on how many items that resellers can get. So she says it can be very lucrative for some people. Well, yeah, that's right. It can be. Then she says thrifting should be affordable for people who need it, especially. When I was a kid, we would thrift out of necessity. Now, just by way of context, she is doing a good thing in the whole way she has her business set up outside of this policy is that she's taking the proceeds from it and she's donating it to help animals who are in animal shelter. So that's a great thing. As you know, this channel is very animal supportive. I'm a big animal lover. So I'm all for that. But what I don't think that she realizes is that I'm not the only reseller who's going to have that kind of reaction. And the reality is that resellers are a major financial funnel point for thrift stores all across the country. We bring a ton of money into there. So to alienate resellers like this, I think is the total wrong move. And that this is actually going to hurt her business as opposed to helping it. So she says, I was seeing some of these resellers and even some boutique owners who would come in and pick out all the good pieces and pay for them, which is great. She says, you're supporting me. Yes, it is great. It's me saying that. But then she says, but also it's hurting me in the sense that you're not leaving anything for the average shopper to come in and find that specialty item. Now, I think that's an extreme statement that resellers are not leaving anything because take any reseller and plop them into a thrift store, your average thrift store, and we're able to go in there and still find good stuff. So this notion that we're literally picking the entire place bare and just leaving breadcrumbs for the average person, I don't believe that for 1 second. And if that is something that's going on, you need to find a way to get more items donated to your store, which, by the way, that's another point. She is most likely getting these items for free. That's how most thrift shops work. People come in and they donate it. Now she's trying to use volume as a way to sell her items. Keep in mind, she is not taking the time to look up all of the items and research them so she could get a higher price for them and sell them herself on eBay or somewhere else so she could make more money to give to the animal shelter. She's not doing that. Resellers are doing that they're the ones who are going in and they're doing the research. So if they're willing to come in, do the research, then yes, they should be able, if they want to later on, to charge a higher price for it. She says if they come in and they don't find that specialty item or that nice piece, they really don't have a reason to come back. She's talking about the average person. You know, the average person who shops out of need for a thrift store, they're not necessarily going in to try to find that book or that video game that was listed for $5 that we could go and flip for $30. They're going in and they're trying to find t-shirts and clothing items for the most part. They might be trying to find pots and pans and things like that. And don't tell me that none of those things are not around in the thrift stores. They are. If you're shopping out of need, what do you care that you have to get a $50 book? You don't. What do you care that you have to get a dollar sports jersey that a reseller could go and flip it for $50? You don't care about that. You're just trying to get a shirt to have on your back. And speaking of trying to get a shirt to have on your back, another point they're going to bring up is that a lot of people in the reselling community, they don't come from a lot of money. I'm not saying for everybody, but there's a lot of people in reselling community who are struggling to get by, struggling to pay paycheck to paycheck, and the money that they can make coming in and using their brain and working hard and doing that research to flip that item, that helps to actually support them. So by cutting that off, she is actually cutting off help to people in the reselling community who actually need that source for funding. Now that's gone to them essentially. Now there are some that will go and they'll go buy one or two items and they'll live with the limit, but most people are going to say, sorry, not worth it. I'm not going in there. Now, this is the part where she talks about the fine line. She says it's really a fine line because you do have people that want to seek affordability when it comes to certain thrifted items, but then you have people taking advantage of the situation and reselling. That really grates on me. Taking like it's a bad thing, taking advantage of the situation. Listen, what's the situation? The situation is as I just described it. You're not bothering to do the research. You're just putting the items out that you got for free. So yeah, we're going in there given the situation. And now I should say, when I say we're going in there, I actually personally have nothing vested into this. I'm speaking on behalf of the larger reselling community because personally, I don't go to thrift stores. You know, if you're watching my channel, that's not where I go to source. Every once in a while, I might stop in, but it's extremely rare. I'm mostly estate sales, garage sales, rummage sales, private picks, that type of stuff. So for me, it really makes no big difference. But I'm saying for the average reseller who likes to go thrift, this kind of thing, I just think it's ridiculous. And if it starts spreading to other places, I'm just warning any other thrift store owner who might be watching this that I just think this is a really misinformed policy. So there she says, but you have to remember that they're also contributing back to the community when they do so. Yes, we are. So again, even though she says all that stuff, bottom line, she's put in this ban. All right, now here's another thing that I am fed up with, which is the term scalping and scalpers being used in news articles and headlines to describe reselling and resellers. It's totally inappropriate, and it actually is considered an offensive term to Native Americans. No, I am not Native American, but I know many Native Americans who are offended by the term. Now, there might be some who are not, but there are many who are. And that term originates from the practice of Native Americans a long time ago, scalping their victims and collecting those as trophies and then eventually trading them in for monetary value. Now, obviously, that doesn't happen anymore. So, continuing to use that term reinforces inappropriate stereotypes that, Native Americans are savages and that kind of thing. And that is one of the big no offensive terms to continue to use. So I'm here to advocate to stop using the term just for that reason. But how it wound up getting applied to reselling is that when the American frontiers were settling in the West and they were going out on the railways, there were these unused parts of the ticket stubs, and they would sell them. They would resell them. People would get those unused parts and they would resell them. So that's how scalping got applied to ticket reselling. It's a very weird extension of the term. And so now it's being used for everything, like this situation right here. George Perez, who's one of, if not the most famous comic artist alive right now. He unfortunately has terminal cancer. And so what happened is that DC and Marvel came together to produce a limited edition of a comic book, Justice League America and Avengers. So it's a crossover, 7,000 copies, and it's priced at $29.99. Now, not many comic book stores are going to even have these on the shelf, maybe three per store if we're lucky. So, in a lot of those instances, the comic book store owners themselves are going to keep them and they're just going to list them online for a high price, or you may get a lucky customer who comes across it. It's not going to be a situation where people are raiding the store and grabbing all the copies off the shelf because, again, there's just not many of them that are out there. So, blaming resellers for this, which is what is happening here, that, again, we're getting blamed for taking some of these comic books and putting them on eBay for high prices. My response to this is, what do you think is going to happen and why do resellers always get blamed for this? How about blaming the company that only made 7,000 of these? They purposely elevated the price to $29.99 on it. And guess what? There's also a demand for them. So people are willing to pay it. It doesn't matter how many items a reseller grabs off of a shelf if there's no demand for it, and there's demand for it because the companies produce a limited amount. So the blame goes both ways, but it always seems to fall on the resellers in the media. All right, so now we're going to get into the primetime crime series. We have a suspect allegedly filming a woman in a Goodwill dressing room. This is actually much more common than you would think. I have come across this same type of story for years monitoring the reselling news. I just haven't shared it yet to the primetime news broadcast, but I wanted to make especially the ladies out there aware of this because I typically find this happening where women are the victim. Children could be the victim as well, and guys could get caught up in it also. So definitely, if you are in a thrift store dressing room, I would highly advise looking around for anything that might be out of place because you don't want to wind up on some guy's secret camera that he's using for who knows what when he goes home. Now, another story that I've seen come up many times over the last few years are thieves getting a copy of the USPS Master Key and then taking that to steal entire communities worths of mail. It could be in an apartment complex, it could be outside of the apartment complex. It's crazy how much mail could be stolen from just having one key. Now, they usually get the keys in one of two ways. Either a corrupt postal worker finds a way to get this key to criminal associates, or they go and rob a mail person and take the key from the postal worker. So here's an example of it right here. This is actually one of the thieves caught on camera. They could just take that key. Look at that. They could open the entire door right there, and they could do that with all of those doors. They just go in and there goes your mail. I think that it is time for USPS to stop the practice of using master keys so that you could open up this many mailboxes all at once. And there definitely needs to be better protections put in place to prevent this from happening. All right, now, just to be fair to USPS, they are not the only postal organization with corrupt employees. We have another example this past week of a FedEx employee arrested for embezzling guns. 10 guns with serial numbers that this FedEx employee allegedly was supposed to transport to a particular address, but then never transported them to where they were supposed to go. So it seems like that the FedEx package was actually just a front. It was probably just supposed to get intercepted by this guy because where did they find the guns? At his residence with the serial numbers scratched off and multiple high capacity gun magazines. So he's on $50,000 bond and he's got multiple legal charges pending. So sometimes our postal locations could be used for front for criminal enterprises. Now let's talk about a positive FedEx story that also includes UPS. There's a new service that's coming out that will allow customers like you and I to get your FedEx and UPS packages picked up at your house or at your business location. You could actually hire DoorDash. Yes, DoorDash, the place that used to deliver you Taco Bell during the pandemic and pizzas and all sorts of fast food items. Now, with all that kind of calming down, DoorDash is expanding their portfolio, and they are going to do package pickup. It's not available in every location yet. You do have to check your app, and if you check your app, you'll see if it's available in your location. It's not free, of course, but check it out as an available option. Major USPS changes that you all need to be aware of as of April 3rd. This is going to be implemented. eBay has announced it. Etsy has announced it. There are going to be surcharges on items that exceed a certain length. So let me show you right over here what the breakdown is. So if your packages exceed 22 inches, but are not greater than 30 inches, $4 per package is going to be added onto the cost. If the package is greater than 30 inches in length, you're going to pay $15 extra per package. If the packages exceed 2 cubic feet, which is 3,456 cubic inches, add $15 to the package as well. A maximum of 2 non-standard fees may be assessed for a package. There will be an additional $1.50 fee applied to packages greater than 1 cubic foot or 22 inches in length for retail ground, priority mail express, and parcel select ground when the dimensions provided are not accurate or if you don't provide the dimensions at all. So that's very important. Now, what eBay says is that they are going to automatically factor this in through their shipping calculator, and they are going to display those non-standard fees in the shipping quote and in the shipping charges that a buyer sees. Now, I don't know if that's also going to occur for people who use a free shipping model. I'm not sure if that's just for calculated. So we'll see as that comes out. All right. So what does this mean for your business? Well, as of April 3rd, you're basically going to have 3 options with these types of items. Number 1 is to look into different shipping services, check out FedEx and check out UPS to see if they could give you better rates compared to USPS. The other option is to just not sell these types of items anymore online and try to sell them locally if your profit margin is not high on them. If your profit margin is high on them, then you're just going to have to factor this in as an additional cost, or you're going to have to just try to shift to higher priced items so that these types of price increases don't impact your bottom line so much. Now, in another quick eBay update, eBay announced they are going to soon allow for wire transfers for certain payments, and this is high dollar payments. So for those of you who are involved in those types of transactions, another form of payment will soon be available to you. In our eBay glitch of the week, now believe it or not, we actually skipped the glitch of the week last week, but sure enough, they came back with another glitch. If you were using the messaging part of the app this past week, you may have noticed that it wasn't possible to click on the item link to direct you to what the heck the person was talking about to begin with. This glitch probably has to do with them transitioning things onto the new messaging system, which hopefully is better. It definitely looks like it will. We'll see what happens. I think this issue is now getting resolved, though. Now, eBay also announced that they're going to expand the coupon feature for store owners so you could send the coupons out to more narrow groups. Now, I'm not sure how narrow you can make these groups based on the information they've provided so far, but ideally, you should be able to do something like, say, everybody who bought a t-shirt from me in the last month, I'm going to send out a buy one, get the second one half off type of deal. If that's the case, that's really cool, and look forward to seeing that roll out. All right, now to expose some eBay double talk, and this has to do with the 30-cent per order fee that sellers still had to pay if an item was canceled after a buyer requested a cancellation and had paid for it already. So sellers hated that, and eBay responded. I covered this during the prior seller update, and this is word for word what eBay said. They said, "We're excited to announce that starting March 1st, 2022, eBay will refund the entire final value fee, including the 30-cent per order fee when you approve a buyer's cancellation request." So that sounded great at the time. I even said so, but it turns out that's not actually what happens in all instances. Once March 1st rolled around, sellers started to notice that they weren't getting their 30 cents refunded in all instances. So it took sellers to then reach out to eBay to find out what the heck is going on. And finally, a response was forthcoming from one of the moderators who said the refund of the 30-cent fee will be for buyer initiated cancellations, which is currently within the first hour of purchase. So, two things there. First of all, that's not what you originally said. And second of all, as a seller on eBay, many people know watching this that there are many, many instances, probably most instances, where the buyer doesn't initiate the cancellation request until after the first hour. So if it happens after the first hour, then you still have to pay that 30-cent fee as a seller. That makes no sense. eBay, first of all, don't overpromise and underdeliver. That's a bad thing for communication. And second of all, just get rid of the 30-cent fee. Why should sellers have to pay that after a cancellation is put in place? Just get rid of it totally. That's what sellers want. That's what I'm advocating for. If you believe that too, put it in the comments because eBay does read there. So, some more information came out this week about the eBay Vault. This was unveiled last week, and there was very little information about it then. But what it turns out is that this is really going to be a place for collectors to mainly keep what we call secondary assets. So, in other words, things like comic books and trading cards are more and more becoming like investments, like stock investments. So, not everyone wants to actually have the physical copy of the comic or have the physical card in their hands. They just want to invest in it, wait until it accrues value, and then sell it to someone else and not have to worry about shipping it themselves or anything like that. So, eBay's warehouse would actually store these items there. And basically, what they're doing is they're just transferring ownership. Now, they are very likely going to charge a storage fee for this service, so it's an additional way for them to make money. They will also physically ship the item out to someone if they want it, but the primary purpose of this is not actually to function like Amazon FBA, where all the sellers are sending their items in and in big boxes and stuff, and then eBay's processing it and shipping it all out. That's not really what this is designed to do. It's mainly as I described it earlier. All right, now speaking of Amazon FBA sellers, if you sell there, you need to go into your settings and make sure that you have disabled Amazon's ability to go and take your own inventory and literally just throw it out, because that's what they are going to do to make room for Prime Day. And if you previously disabled this option, do you know what Amazon did? They literally went in and enabled it without telling you until they just sent out this message, which you may have missed. So you need to go back in and make sure you disable it. Back to eBay, one of the things that sellers have been complaining about ever since the transition happened from PayPal to managed payments is that with PayPal, we used to be able to instantly access our funds. Now, you can't do that with managed payments, but what eBay is promising, since a lot of sellers have complained about this, is that later on this year, they are going to enable the option for near instant withdrawals. Not instant, but near instant. So, according to them, you should be able to access your funds within 30 minutes. The catch, of course, there's going to be a fee for that. All right, now our Russia-Ukraine update this week with reselling is that eBay announced they are suspending all transactions to Russian addresses. USPS announced that as well. eBay also announced that they are going to match employee donations to organizations that support Ukraine. So good job, eBay, on that one. All right, now FedEx takes a page from eBay. I got to give them credit here. Their package volumes went down, just like eBay's gross merchandising volume went down, but their revenue went up. How do they always wind up making that happen? How did they do it? Just like eBay does it with increasing fees. Same exact thing that FedEx did. They increased their fees, their gas surcharge prices on packages. So expect them to continue to do that if package volumes continue to slip. All right, now in the saddest story of the week, a Greensboro USPS worker's arm was actually amputated after using an unsafe machine. Now, what was unsafe about it is that this machine, which was part of a bulk sorting and processing center, was supposed to have a guardrail in front of it. Well, the guardrail wasn't there. So the USPS workers' arm made contact with the machine, got caught up in it, and then, due to the damage, wound up getting amputated. Turns out that this is not a single isolated instance in terms of safety violations at this particular plant. That was the conclusion of an investigation that was done afterwards. So it just goes to show the sacrifices that are made to deliver mail to us, and also goes to show that USPS needs to do a better job in a lot of areas. Most importantly, it's worker safety. Without workers being safe, we're not going to be able to have an efficient system to deliver the mail. All right, now in our craziest story of the week by far, Hidden Valley actually made a diamond ring made out of ranch seasoning for their salad dressing, and they sold it on eBay for $12,550 on auction after 79 bids. Now, I don't know if it was paid for, but that was the sale price. And yes, I said that right. They made it out of ranch seasoning. It turns out that if you take many substances, including peanut butter and tequila, kid you not, and you apply enough heat to it and enough pressure, you could turn these substances into diamonds. Now, according to the description here, this was something that involved a professional diamond maker in a lab. They heated the Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning to 2,500 degrees and then crushed the output beneath 400 tons of pressure. That's absolutely amazing to me. You learn something new every day, right? And great sale if it was actually paid for. All right, now in our inspirational story of the week, we have a nice gentleman who was able to get his family heirlooms back after accidentally donating them to a thrift shop. I'll let them explain in the story what went down. And keep in mind that this guy is an anthropologist. How ironic is that?
At a thrift shop, one man's trash is another man's treasure. But what if you find a treasure that the guy probably didn't mean to give away?
And said, "We have your stuff." And I'm like, "My stuff?" And they've got, "Well, we've got letters and stuff from 3 generations going back." And I'm like, "Oh, that was a mistake."
All right, so that's really great that he got the heirlooms back. That's a type of story that I see a lot, in which people accidentally donate things. They don't always get it back, by the way. Often the stories are that they're searching for something that was accidentally donated. So always make sure you double check before you make a donation. Let me know your thoughts down below. There's so much to chew on in this news broadcast. I'll see you back at the next one, everyone. Take care.